Hey everyone, Cindy Daychuk here with Queen Bee Creations, and thanks for tuning in. If you've been here before, thanks so much for returning, and if this is your first time, thanks for joining us. Today, so here's the thing. If you haven't caught it, I did a burlap wreath a couple of weeks ago, so check it out on the channel because I loved it. It turned out awesome, but I totally faked that one. And I thought it turned out pretty cool, and I had a heck of a lot of fun making it. So I decided I want to make some more. So hopefully you want to see some more because I'm still having fun with it and I want to make a couple more. So I thought that I would try another fall one, and then I'm going to try another Christmassy one. And then we'll see if the fun ends or if I want to still keep going. Here's what I was planning was these come in. This is 10 inches, so these are 10-inch mesh, and this comes in 10 yards. And I'm gonna be using about 10 inches. So if you look at, so this is me remembering my US math, and I'm better at that than I am the switch to Canadian and centimeters. I still mess centimeters up. It's a sign of my age. So if you look at 3 yards being 3 feet, so let's assume I was cutting this into 12 inches. So then that would give me 30 of these. I have 6 sections, maybe 1, 2, 3. I have 6 sections. So I could have 5 petals each on the outside. So I'm keeping that in my mind as I go to attach them, because if I'm finding that I think I need more than that, I need to spread them out more. So I don't want to attach more than 5 in there, just to make sure that I don't run out. So I'm thinking I'm going to do this kind of chocolate brown on the outside, then this would be on the inner layer, and then this kind of bronzy, which I don't have as much of, so it has to be, it's like a bronze, which I said. Although it says it's 10 yards too, but look at how skinny it is. So I don't know, maybe it is, on the inside. And then I don't know what I'm doing in the center yet. I haven't got a clue. So what I do have is a roll of plastic canvas, which I didn't even realize I had. I think this is back from when I was in my 20s. I've had this. So that's 40 years. That's 40 years ago when I was in my 20s. Ooh, okay, that's kind of scary math. I don't want to do that math anymore. So it's when I was younger. When I did rug hooking, of all things. Like, really. But I remember being up at the cottage, and now I'm thinking, I was at the cottage doing this, so it's more than that. It's more than 40 years. Okay, we're really not talking about that anymore. So all I'm doing is I am laying this out, and I am going to draw a rough circle on it. Y'all notice I put actually a clean piece of paper down for a change, because my dirty paper drives some of you crazy. So I'm sorry, but I'm gonna put it down when it gets really disgusting. And I would like to say that it's because it's keeping my tabletop clean, but when I lifted it up, my tabletop is really disgusting too. So it's not doing such a good job. All right, so I'm cutting that out because we're gonna use that center. So I'm gonna cut this out, and plastic canvas really cuts quite easily. And I'm cutting it outside of that line. This was a nice find, and this was back in my olden day craft stash. So y'all, this just gives you an idea of how little I throw out, right? So when I'm saying, oh, this was in a stash, you don't know how old that some of those stashes may be. So, you know, give me an amen, hands up, thumbs up, something like if you also have a craft stash that you don't want anybody else to know about because it's a little larger than perhaps is reasonable. I justify it now with I have the shop, so that's my excuse. What I am looking at doing here is just simply laying my plastic canvas down And I am going to take some twist ties and I am just going to attach it to that inner rung. Which one can you see? You can see this one. So I'm just going to attach it to the inner rung. So I'm just going to go down and then up again and just attach it here and there to this. And what I imagine is that some of my petals I'll be attaching to this, so they're going to make this center smaller. It's not going to be as humongous as this one is. Okay, so this plastic mesh stuff, okay, so this mesh stuff is plastic. This plastic mesh stuff, of course, is plastic. So you could measure out and just cut it. And I actually have just drawn, where you guys can't see it, just slightly above a 10-inch line. And so you could just take your scissors and cut up. Best to do it like following one of the lines, or you could take a wood burning tool and just run it down quickly between the lines. So you see I have like an old piece of plastic there to be able to burn into rather than the actual paper. So I do have bright moments every so often. We'll see if that's the only one that I have during the making of this. But I think I've done 30. I, however, may have miscounted because they're just here in a big, massive pile you can kind of see. So I may have to cut one or two more. We'll see how that goes. I am, at this moment in time though, going to unplug the wood burner because I am just as likely to forget that it's there and stick my hand over there. Knowing myself as I do, I'm going to try and avoid that. So, we're going to take the wreath. Now, I may switch out the petals. So here's the thing about these petals, is there are a ton of different ways of doing this to be able to create different looks. Again, not an expert, but I do want to have it kind of full on the outside. So I am going to do kind of a double petal-ish for this. Okay, so one of the things that I did learn from doing the last one, get your twist tie ready already. So if you look at, this is your outside, I'm going to attach it to the second one in. That way then the petals are able to rest against this outside bar and it helps keep them straight, as opposed to if I attach them on this, they're going to swing down and around. Having this one to rest against means that they don't swing down at all. All right, so I'm just putting this through that second bar and leaving it hanging. And what I'm going to do for these petals, and I may switch it up on the inside ones, we'll see how it goes. So I'm taking one corner, so ostensibly because I cut this 10 inches, it's kind of square, right? It's 10 inches wide. So I'm just folding them in toward the center so they get the two tips there. And then I'm kind of folding over again toward the center and then pinching. So I have a bow tie now, kind of, and then I'm going to swing them up together. So you actually have an option here. You can attach it on so that you have almost like the bunny ears, or you can attach them on so that you've got the flat. And I would think that there are advantages to both ways. Both are going to look good. Let me even mine out though. It just depends upon your look. So I'm gonna do it so that I've got like that major flat side. I'm gonna put it down against my twist tie, take my twist tie up. My big discovery last wreath was figuring out how twist ties worked. Now I feel like I'm an expert. All right, I'm just gonna pull it super tight and I'm gonna cut it off. Now, this first one always kind of sits at a weird angle. And one of the tips I picked up from Julie's Design, Julie's Wreath Designs, I think her name is, and some others that I kind of watched, was to take just one extra twist tie and put it on this one the opposite direction. So you're forming like an X over top. So you can see it went, see the X back there? So it went the opposite direction. Pull it tight, cut it off, and you see how that just kind of straightened it out? So you don't have to do that for all of them because the others will have this to kind of lean against, but it just kind of keeps, it seemed to me that what it did was it kept everything nice and straight. So I know that I have enough for 30. I had 6 segments, so I've got enough for 5 of these in each row. So I'm gonna try and see how that goes. And I will say that one of the things that I did on the last wreath too was that I kind of alternated the direction of my angle of my twist ties every other one. So this one I'm kind of angling the tail over toward my existing petals. The next one I'll angle the head over toward the existing petals. Just so you alternate. And I just found that helped keep it a little bit straight too. All right, so we're just gonna open this up. We're gonna fold 2 corners in together so that we bring them into touch. Roughly take those sides in together, and then we're just going to pinch in the middle and then turn them up to touch. And then lay them out on my wreath. Hold them in place. This becomes like a really fine motor skill exercise. And then pull that twist tie tight. Now, just because I have more of this doesn't mean I want to use all of it if I don't need to. So if 5 is full enough, then I'm gonna let that go because I still don't know what I'm doing in the center. So I may or may not need some of this there. I don't know. We'll wait and see. So, one more time, and then I'll carry on without you and bring you back once that outside row is done. So, corner to corner, in, one more time, pinch, and turn them to face each other. And then, oops, twisting it the opposite way. And cutting it off. Easy peasy. You're with me so far? Okay, we have our first row done. This is gonna be a big wreath. I tell you. Okay. So, you know, I made a smaller one. You know, good learning. This is a big wreath. So, here's the plan. I have this fabric, which is also plastic mesh. I've cut it into the 10-inch long pieces as well. And what we're looking at doing for this is, okay, let me just do it up. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the same thing that we did before. I'm gonna fold those points in, but then I'm just gonna kind of pinch it along, okay? So, and then I'm going to fold them up again. So they actually, if you see, they become a little bit, oops, they become a little bit wider. And I'm going to, well, I'm debating now. So I'm debating whether I put them on this second row from the inside or whether I put them on that first row. And I'm just debating because I do want to come in a fair bit. I don't want to have this huge flat center. So I am thinking that maybe if I did that and then the next row comes in. Okay, I'm doing it on the second row in. And we're doing exactly the same thing, that we are putting our twist tie down and attaching it in. And I cut the same number for this as for the outside. I cut 30. Because I think that, again, that inner fullness is going to help create that overall fullness, right? So I think that doing the same number on that inner circle will work. And if I recall correctly, so I'm just folding those 2 points in, holding that in the center, and I'm just kind of sliding it all along. And then turning them up to meet each other. And then just attaching my twist ties again and alternating direction. All right, here's where we're at with the wreath now. You can see the chocolate peeking out. And because this row ends up being fuller, I'd cut the 30 pieces and I only needed 26. I had 4 left over. So on this size frame, I don't think it's a problem that the chocolate wasn't as full on the bottom because it starts just filling in anyway. Now, I had thought to use that bronze, that really thin, kind of shiny bronze mesh next, but I think we lose it. I would have liked to have maybe done another row of the chocolate. I think that would look awesome. But I'd have to order more and wait for it. So one of the things I'm thinking is I have this 2.5 inch ribbon. It's kind of like a burlap. It kind of has the same sort of look. And I'm thinking that maybe if I folded it over, this is 14 inches, and if I folded it over like this, and I wrap it down there, and I anchor it there, it kind of creates a little bit of a barrier. And this ribbon has cream in it. So we're going to anchor it down in there. Okay. All right, see, already I'm looking at that thinking that looks too stark. All right, so I'm taking it out. I don't know if you're gonna see this or not. I'm gonna order chocolate and do another row of the brown. So always order 2 of the outside row. That's the theory. And I'm gonna put this off to the side and I'm gonna have to wait until it arrives. Okay. I am going to remove the cream because I like the cream. I just don't like it in this. I really think I need to go the chocolate. So here's the plan. I got more chocolate in. So a bit of a wait for me, no wait for you. And I'm gonna do the same petal as we did before. So no switching it up or anything. We're gonna keep doing the same thing until we get a little bit closer in. So again, for this one, I'm going to take it down onto the canvas. So I'm not attaching it to the inner rim. I'm going to attach it down into the canvas. I want it to be a little further out. I want more of the orange to be showing. And I want to be creating a bit of a circle, a bit of a center in here. So you could draw a circle on your canvas if you wanted to try and make sure that these stay sort of even if you're worried about that, or you can just kind of eyeball it as you go. But we're just going to take part of our tie up from the bottom and then down through the bottom, and that's where we're going to be pulling it tight. Now again, don't ream it super tight here because we don't want it to rip through the plastic canvas, but enough to securely hold that in place. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing exactly the same thing all the way around, and then I'll come back when it's time to be doing our ribbons on the inside, which is cool. But I'm so excited I got this, the chocolate back in so that I can continue on, and because I'm excited to finish it. It seemed like a long wait, but it was 4 days. It was not a big deal. All right, gang, we've got the brown in the center, and I'm really, really loving how this is turning out. So look how beautiful that is. It is in the big and beautiful category. So it's gonna be quite a large wreath, but big is beautiful. So this is gorgeous. So what I'm looking at doing for the center is I have this roll of it's wired ribbon. So just in a nice orange with a little bit of a sparkle to it. So what I'm looking at doing, I'm gonna do the same thing for this orange, same kind of, not a bright orange, kind of jute, is I'm going to anchor it down, and you can see I'm kind of gonna do it in between some of these rows. Now I took 20 to go around the circle. So what I'm looking at doing is anchoring this down, but I'm gonna do it backwards. So rather than putting it down this way, I'm gonna anchor it down in between my 2 brown ones. So in between those 2 brown knots. So again, coming up from underneath, which I know is always a little bit awkward, but hey, we can manage. And then taking it down right beside it, right? So we're taking it down in behind, and we're just going to secure it. And I've gotten pretty darn good about doing this one-handed. But we're going to secure it down here. There we go. And you can see these are all of the zip ties from those brown inner pieces. I'm just kind of going in between them here. So I'm kind of filling in that space. And you can see I cut all those ones off, and I'll go back and cut these ones off too. But what I'm looking at doing with this is taking it up in between those brown ones. So I'm gonna go in between every one of those browns. So I've got 20 of them, so it's probably 19 places I'm going up and down in between. So I just want to kind of get a height that sort of makes sense. That looks like it is about, let me check, about 7.5 inches. And okay, good. I've got 25 feet. This is 2.5 inch ribbon, 25 feet. I'll have enough to go around. Just good to check, right? Just good to check to make sure that you don't get just 3/4 of the way around. So I'm doing this up in kind of just like the little sideways kind of puff. And again, I'm just gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna kind of come up from in behind, in between those 2 brown guys. I'm just checking to make sure I've got this turned the right way. Flip it around. Taking it down. And because these are wired, I get to, sorry, I thought it was more important you could see the wreath and see my face. But because they're wired, I can zhuzh them up after I'm done. So all I'm gonna wanna do is that each one I do, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm getting roughly the same height, okay? So again, you can just kind of eyeball this once you've got one in place. I was just measuring to give you an idea. But you see how these just start to cover up these, and kind of fit all around the edge. For the next piece, so the center looks like this so far, which I love. But what I don't want is this next ribbon to look exactly like that. So I'd like it to be kind of smaller, little ups and downs and a little bit tighter. So what I think I'm going to do, I took little pieces of jute to be able to tie, and I think it'll be easier to attach them if they're already kind of tied, and then I'm just attaching one section as opposed to trying to hold a bunch of loops. So you'll see what I mean. So what I'm thinking is that I'd like to do a series of smaller loops kind of going up and down so that they're not as full as those other ones, and that I can scrunch them together almost like this and have them coming up. So I'm thinking I want to have 5, and so I need to cut this off slightly. Oh, I should have better scissors over here. Cut this off and find my center. So in essence it looks like this, kind of the start of like if I was making a bow. I left a little bit of a piece on this side and a little bit of a piece on that side, so that when I take my jute, it will catch on that top and that bottom piece. And I'm just going to tie these together in the middle. Again, kind of like if I was making a bow. So I'm going to kind of scrunch them up together and tie them off. Whoops. And then I'll show you the plan. So that we now have this, but when we turn it up like this, that's what it's going to look like inside our wreath, like this. So we're going to have all those little loops. And then once they're all in there, I can zhuzh them up in multiple directions. But this gives me a place to be able to take my zip tie and scrunch them down into the plastic canvas. Does that make sense? Following me? So all I'm going to do is exactly what I was doing before, is I'll put that in there, okay? And I will come up, so I'll move all this orange stuff out of the way, right? Just push it. Don't worry about how it looks, right? Don't worry about how it looks right now. And I'm going to just simply come up from underneath, go around the middle, and go back down. And then I will just zip it closed. Okay? So what I'm going to end up having is I'm going to do these in multiple directions. So I'm not going to go around in a circle like I did for the orange. I just wanted that nice border. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next one going this way. So I'll go horizontal and diagonal. So that I end up with these going in multiple directions, so that when I fluff them, when I zhuzh them out, then I'll be able to mix them all in with one another so that it just forms this concentric kind of center. With me? Because I think that I want to have this orange, the solid orange in the center, I'm going to kind of start with that one. Just so that I make sure that I leave some space for it. So I'm going to pop up kind of roughly into the center here. And again, I'm just going over the middle where that jute is already tying all of those kind of bows together, those loops together. And I'm just going to anchor it into place. And then I'm going to take, and these are all going to want to fold better. These are all going to want to fold better one way or the other. So just go for whichever way it likes to do it. And then I'm going to start popping these in. And again, I'm going to take them in multiple directions. As we finish this off, we're just going to go back for every one of those little petals and just kind of open them up. And we've got the opportunity to kind of pull them in slightly different directions to be able to fill out that center in a way that makes sense. I'm kind of pushing them down a little bit too to kind of hold their shape a bit, and just work your way around, just trying to kind of create some fullness, create a little bit of interest. Nothing's going to grow straight. We don't want them all angled in the same direction, and you kind of can move them because they've got that wire edging. We have the opportunity to be able to kind of move them as well a little bit in different directions. So if it doesn't seem quite so full in one direction, just kind of move some of these petals around and it'll all kind of fill out. So it'll be good. I did do that orange in the center, and I quite like that little bit of the pop just in there. It kind of coordinates with that outside edge. So you just keep zhuzhing. You can see this side is this side is still all flat and bunchy. So you just keep going around and keep working it to be able to create the visual that you're after. So the other thing, now I haven't snapped off the back, so I need to snap those off. You can leave this as it is, and you use the wire frame to be able to hang it. If you wanted, you could cut a piece of felt out to be able to extend out to this outer rim, and then just kind of cut little slits in, and you could use a zip tie to be able to zip it in place if you just wanted that flat back. It's really just up to you whether or not you want to be able to, whether it bothers you to see that or not. Generally, it doesn't bother me. But I do have felt here in case it did. So just kind of going with whatever works for you. So I'm going to keep playing with this until I get it how I like. I'll snap a couple of pics for you to be able to take a look. But guys, this is just a really nice, big, beautiful kind of fall wreath. It's not in your face Halloween. It's just got that fall vibe. It could hang up on your door because it's all in that the plastic mesh. This is a little bit fabricy. It's burlap, but it's a fairly hardy burlap. So, you know, it could last great for an indoor wreath though as well. It'd be beautiful, you know, up on your wall in a sunroom above a fireplace would be gorgeous. So hope you guys give this a try. Really, you've got a lot of different looks and color variations to go with, but I think what becomes important is keeping in mind the different centers that you can do. I've got a couple more in mind for the holiday seasons. We're coming more into Christmas with a couple of different centers and different looks to be able to give you a bit of an idea how you can switch it up a little bit, but you know, give it a go, play with it. They really work up quite quickly, and you know, bear in mind, I needed 2 rolls of the brown, 1 roll of the plaid. So, you know, if you're doing an outside color and the same color on the inside, you will need to have 2 rolls of it. I do have extra of the brown, however, so I didn't need 2 full rolls, and I have enough that I'd be able to use it maybe in the center somewhere as a little bit of an accent. So I'm going to carry on zhuzhing. I think it's a word. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope to see you next week or later this week. I don't know where this one's fitting into the grand scheme of things, but you know, coming twice a week is messing with my head now. But hope to see you back on the channel, and thanks for tuning in. Take care.